I turned this piece of trash into Warhammer terrain. If you'd like me to show you how it's done, then stick around. My name is James, and this is another terrain guide from Echoes of the Workshop. Quite a lot of food is packaged in these sort of containers. From the classic Pringles can to this example here. This one contained freeze-dried raspberries. This one's a little bit wider than a Pringles can, but they make fantastic bases for some of the best budget terrain you can make yourselves at home. They usually have some sort of hard cardboard and some sort of cheap metal in them as well. It just makes them really, really solid. However, I think this one on its own, freestanding as it is quite a bit too tall for my main purpose, which is Warhammer terrain. As you can see here, this Ballista's Dreadnought stood next to it. It looks, even better example. Here's a Grey Hunter. It's massive, and maybe it could work. But for this first piece, I'm gonna cut this bit in half. Now, the most important thing when it comes to making terrain like this is to have an idea. So I had a quick look online, and I found this awesome looking piece, which is for your 3D printers. But as previously stated, I don't have one, and we're not using 3D. We're not using 3D printer on this channel. So this is what I'm going to base this build on. So if that sounds good to you, I'd love it if you'd give us a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel and see what's coming next. Now, important thing, when you're using food containers, make sure they're washed out. The last thing you want is for some Nurgle plague to spread throughout your terrain pieces, and you're wondering in months or years' time, what is that odd smell? I'm all for providing atmosphere on the battlefield, but a full-on plague, let's not go there. So what I'm doing here, I've just got a marker and my ruler, marking a line around the centre of the can. I'm going to split this into two sections. One slightly taller than the other, but it should give a nice effect on the tabletop. So, got my hobby saw here. Excuse the camera shake that's about to occur. And I'm just going to go through this, spin it around. I've not made the cleanest cut here, as you'll see in a second. An excellent thing you can use for sort of like metal grating is this sort of plastic mesh that you can get from garden centres. Now, I actually saw this in a skip, and I asked the owner of said skip, "Hey, you're chucking that out, can I have it please?" So it was free, and free stuff is great. Don't go taking things out of people's skips. Always ask. But it can be a good supply of useful things. This mesh, I believe, is used for sort of wrapping up trees and plants to protect them from nasties and from animals scratching and getting at the trunks while they grow. So to get the effect I'm after, I'm essentially going to cut and fit this to the top. I want this to be on the inside, so that's what I'm doing now. See, nice and easy to work with some simple scissors, and that will sit nicely on the top and give this effect of sort of metal grating once it's been painted up. So I'm just going to make that one there, just trim it down a little bit more, and then do the same with the other side. So once I'm happy with that, we're just going to go ahead and get ready for assembly. The glue I'm going to use for this is wood glue. You can see on the side here I've got a hot glue gun. Didn't use that for this one. That would also work perfectly. I really like using quick drying wood glue for terrain. I just find it's always served me well when I've built things in the past, and yeah, thoroughly recommend getting yourself some. Same on the other side here. Lovely job. So now that's done, we're going to grab our containers and get them onto the base. This is roughly how I want it to look, and what I'm going to do is create some sort of a walkway in between the two towers. So if playing skirmish games, you could have like miniatures moving up and down the ladders and moving along. What I'm going to use for this is some foam board. Obviously you could do this with cardboard as well, but I had a bunch of foam board around, so I thought I'd just use some. What I'll do is get a pencil, trace along the two shapes and just cut it out. Just measuring up the width of the walkway now, and now I'll just grab my hobby knife, box cutter, and get this cut down. Happy with that. What I'll do here is use the same mesh material, cut out a piece and stick that on top. Just ties the look together. It's a little bit messy doing this with a craft knife, Works better with the scissors. But, all good. On with some glue. And there we go. Just trim it down so it's flush, get rid of all the rubbish, and we're ready to go. Now we need our now you all know what brand of dog food our dog likes. These Caesar packages are quite thick and quite useful for making things like this. What I'm going to do here is create some ladders. So I'm just trimming off the excess to the height that I want it. And what I'm essentially going to do is measure off a little way off the edge, and with a pencil every centimetre essentially just trace the areas I'm going to cut out. Those smaller rectangles will give the effect of rungs on said step ladder. Just adds to the immersion as your miniatures are moving around the battlefield. And there we go, just match it up with the other side. Close the shapes and then cut them out. Now, once you're happy with all of your bits, you need something for it to sit on. Now, you can do this with cardboard, and you can make a double thickness layer of said thick cardboard. What can happen with that is that it can tend to warp, it can tend to sort of bend upwards when you add moisture to it. So what I prefer to do is use this sort of thin sheets of balsa wood I found at the hardware store. It's really easy to work with, and chucking a bunch of polyfiller, sculptor mold, whatever paint on it, it doesn't bend. So 6 A4 sheets was pretty reasonably priced. This stuff is marketed for like sort of crafting woods to use for little children, so it could not be easier to work with. Now what I've done is I've beveled the edge, which essentially means just taking a sharp knife and at an angle just make a smooth transition, so it's not just from flat table to, so it'll look more natural on the tabletop is how it will look in the end. So yeah, here we are with our wood glue, and we start sticking things down. As I said, when I made the cuts of these 2 tubes, it wasn't entirely smooth and it wasn't entirely flat, but by the time I'm finished with the piece you won't even notice. So there goes assembly in with the walkway, and here you can see all the ladder bits that I've made. I didn't really think it was necessary to show you making even more ladders, but I've made some more for all the in-between sections. Now, polyfiller. Other fillers are available. I like to use this stuff. You can use sculptor mold for this. Does a similar task, but it gives you a nice even base to work with. And what it will also do is, if you've got some ugly gaps in the tube that you cut out, you can just hide it with this stuff. It's great. Big box of that, nice and cheap. This will serve me for several building projects, and I'm just, as you can see, giving us a nice foundation with which to work. That right there is why you don't leave your bits on the top of the terrain piece as you're moving it around. That's all good. You won't notice it in the final piece. So on it goes all the way around. See, when I first started working on this project, I, as you may have seen from the base itself, had some outlines drawn on for how I was going to do this slightly differently. But whilst I was working on it, I decided that it would look better slightly differently. So here we are. So I've let this fully dry, and now what I'm going to do is grab all the embellishments for the towers, and again, using our wood glue, attach it to the sides. Now, this video is quite long already, so what I think I'll do is I'll make a separate video for how I'm going to seal it and then paint it. So that'll be coming out next weekend. So that's all the side bits on. The last thing I'm going to do in terms of construction here is I'm going to grab some PVA glue, mix it with some water, and that's going to go all over the base. Just for some extra detail on the ground and to make it nice and solid, we're going to go over it with some sand. And once you've gone with sand, you can also add all manner of bits of rubble, different textured groundwork, but it really gives you a nice groundwork, which you can tailor to match whatever style of terrain that you're building for your collection. This is model train sand. There's much cheaper ways of doing that, but it's just, I had it on hand. I use this for basing, so I figured I might as well use it for this as well. So I've got two different textures, fine sand and this sort of limestone scale stuff, but on it goes everywhere. And once it's dried, shake off the excess, ready for another project. So, as I said, this video has been quite long enough. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll be back next weekend with a painting guide, so if you're looking forward to that, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you next week for another video. Thanks for watching Trash to Terrain on Echoes of the Workshop. Bye bye.